Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Listen carefully to these words from Noah Webster of days gone by. Quote, God's Word contained in the Bible has furnished all necessary rules to direct our conduct. Amen. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. On a Wednesday, July 19th, we need a red, white, and blue patriot to call with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. And a good morning to you as we look at a Wednesday, a warm Wednesday. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Let's go to our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, you're on the air. Wheels, where is our Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, he's on the phone, sir.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was a job well done, my friend. Thank you for your call. God bless you. Have a great day. Thank you so much. That man did a good job, and right now it's time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Oh, my goodness, they open the doors at 7 in the morning till 5:30 at night, 7 a.m. to 6 on Saturdays. They've got all the equipment for you. They've got all the tools. They've got all the power tools and heavy equipment from forklifts all the way to lawnmowers. I'm telling you, they are good. Roger and the crew at K&R Rental. And right now, here's the weather.
Here is your weather for this Wednesday as we saddle up and ride again, and it's going to be a sunny one. Expecting a high right near 93, slightly breezy winds out of the northwest, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Sunset tonight going to be at 9:07 if you happen to catch the sunset for tonight. Looks like clear skies and 57 in the overnight hours tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies in the morning going to give way to mostly sunny skies for tomorrow afternoon. High right around 90. Winds going to be picking up tomorrow as well. Out of the west, 10 to 15 miles an hour tomorrow night. Looking at clear skies, low of 53. Then for Friday as we kick off the weekend, sunny skies, high of 89. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
You know, I'm almost to the point where I'm becoming accustomed to the mid-90s. When it drops in temperature, I'm going to freeze. K&R Rental bringing you the weather this hour, and we really appreciate these folks. They're a Honda engine dealer. They've got all the parts that you might need for your wheel lines, boys. I'm telling you, they are good with experience since 1979 in serving you. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, 678-3122. We have an outstanding program this morning with a lot of great guests like Indianapolis, Indiana, Dave Bego. Then we're going to go down to Arizona and talk to Rachel Alexander about another idiot story from the left loon liberals. It just drives my mind into a fog as to how dumb some of these people can be. Then we're going to talk to Bob Humphreys over in Jerome with the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. And then at 10:30, The environmentalists keep changing the rules, and we're going to talk to Jack Euler at 10:30, so don't miss that. Lots of things going on, and we want to remind you, too, about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. And, of course, I urge you to get a hold of them today. Really good people at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They're waiting to serve you, and all you have to do is check out all the filters for your air conditioning. And you want to make sure that they're nice and clean and that they, of course, your air conditioner can do the job for you. It's going to be warm the next couple of days, so you check it out today. Get into Ramsey Heating and Electric, all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric, absolutely the best. And as you should know, tomorrow on Thursday is Lunch Bunch Day. We're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, at 611 North Overland in Burley. And we are going to have lunch bunch. Now, we get probably between 55 and 70 people. That's an average month. And we'd love to increase our numbers, so come on by. We have door prizes furnished by Smith's Food, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Redneck Cup Holders. We've got a lot of fun there, so come on in and join us at Denny's Restaurant. Now, the food is fantastic. The service is supreme. So get in there to Denny's Restaurant anytime, all the time. America's Diner. And tomorrow at 11:30, Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Everybody be there. Okay, let's see what we have here in the news. I got a lot of stories, and I want to thank some of the listeners out there, especially I had a Dietrich listener send me a story that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on this morning. And we're going to talk a little bit later on about PETA and the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals. They are insane, and a group that is, quite frankly, my opinion, anti-biblical from the word go. So we're going to talk about PETA later on. Right now, the Republicrats, and I say that because they're half and half of whatever. I am so sick and tired of a dysfunctional branch that's doing nothing. All of us should be raising our fists in the air and slamming them down on the desk, picking up the phone and telling all of our congressmen and senators to get their selves to work. I'm telling you, this is, it's both parties. I am not pointing my finger just at Democrats. I'm pointing my finger at both sides of the aisle. They're a disgrace to America. Now, some people might be offended by that. Your problem, not mine. They are a disgrace to America. They should not be paid and no time off until they get the job done for us. There is so much that needs to be done. I am absolutely sick of the lip service and worn-out rhetoric. You got to ask, like the old commercial for Wendy's, where's the beef? Where is the beef? They're not getting anything on the table. And some in the Republican Party, I believe, are so subversive to President Trump, I believe they are absolutely out, along with the Democrats, to make this administration fail. They are not the brightest bulbs in the fixture. What are your thoughts about Republicrats? Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. One of my dear friends that's a politician, former politician, is feeling the same way I am about the Republican Party and about the lack of respect for the people out in the hinterlands, their constituents. They are not doing the job. We're getting nothing but sound bites on the 6 o'clock news. That's what they look for. I think only to use those sound bites for possible re-election. I'm fed up with all of them. What are your thoughts? Too much? Too little? Give me a call. All right. While I'm waiting for your phone call, it means a lot to me. So come on, give me a jingle. I want to remind you about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Hello, Nick Greenwell and all the excellent physical therapists over there. When I was getting back out from knee surgery replacement and hip surgery replacement, they really helped me. Now, I'll guarantee you, man, I am a year hence from that surgery. I am absolutely doing everything I did years ago. I credit them. They do a wonderful job with all the exercises, all the sports medicine. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool in the area. I mean, I used that pool, and it helped me. So call today for an appointment, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. I've got a couple of things I've got to pay the bills here real quick, and I want to remind everybody about Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. They do make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. And they invite you to come by anytime, take a tour, and see what it would be like for your loved one. So please check out the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area, and that's Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. Again, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Caller, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Zed.
Yes, sir.
You know, these are Republic camps.
That's a good point. I'll buy that.
Okay. You know, all my life, my parents had taught me to respect my elders and to also respect the people who were in charge, such as the sheriff and your senators and that sort of thing. But where is that going? It's gone.
Well, wait a minute, Keith.
Nobody really cares.
Keith, wait a minute. Respect is a two-way street. And in order to have respect, you have to earn respect. And quite frankly, our senators and congressmen are not earning our respect because they're not doing their job. So I don't want anybody to say, oh, well, we have to respect them. Why, we can't criticize them because they're our senators and our congressmen. No, they are paid employees that we hired, and they dang sure better do the job.
Well, it was said on TV last night that they take 77 days a year off. 77. That means they're not there working for us, and they're probably not at home finding out what our needs are and what our wants and what we want them to do.
Yeah, well, I think that's 76 days too many, if you want to know the truth, the way things are right now.
I do, too. I mean, every time you turn around, they're taking days off.
Well, did Keith Cottom, let me ask you this. Hold on a second, Keith. When you were actively involved in an everyday job at your auto industry, etc., did you take 77 days off per annum?
No, I did not. My wife used to remind me, this is really not a working vacation, is it?
Yeah, and the point is nobody does. I don't know hardly anyone that can take off over 2.5 months per annum and just be gone from their job. Well, that's what these guys are doing, and gals. And they're not getting the job done, but yet they still enjoy all the perks of their profession of being a paid politician. And quite frankly, it's time to cut the cord, say, hey, listen, dude and dudette, get the job done before you go anywhere.
Yeah, and you don't see or hear from these people except in about August.
Yeah.
They come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And they want to campaign and they want to be on vacation. They really want your business then. And then after that's over with, back to the old routine.
I agree with you. Keith, again, a good point this morning, and I appreciate your call. Hope to see you at Lunch Bunch tomorrow at 11:30 at Denny's. Thank you so much.
Well, let's remember those Republic camps.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Hey, don't forget, on Mondays, I want some more calls on this. What do you think about this? 2.5 months in round numbers. They take off per year. And I can't afford that. And if I do take off, a lot of people say, well, Zeb went on vacation in February to Arizona. I paid for it. I have to pay people to come in and do my program. So don't give me the rub of saying, Zeb, that was a paid vacation. No, yeah, it was a paid vacation for those that I had to hire to do this program. And so nobody suffered, no job was lax or anything else. Sharon and Gina did a wonderful job filling in, but they were paid for it. Our senators and congressmen are being paid, but they get 2.5 months off. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Right there on the square. Great restaurant and bakery. Oh, my goodness. Their bakery items just knock your boots off delicious. And every Monday at 8:30, we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox to a first-time winner. So don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox in Rupert. It is good. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Ag Express is looking for drivers. Full and part-time positions. Retired folks are welcome to apply, and they'll work around your schedule 2 or 3 days a week, whatever works best for you. And you're home every night using new and maintained equipment. And great vacation programs, benefit programs, 401k plans. You'd better call Dale and Paul at 438-8886, or Alan in Twin Falls, 731-2495, or Chad in Burley at 670-7219. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, in November, we mustered about all we can muster to elect Trump. And now, you know, when we are in our everyday tasks, we're busy, and we see the Republicans, the gutless Republicans, who can't get the job done, who can't stand by the president, who you wonder where their loyalties lie, and you say to yourself, do they even really believe that, you know, that Trump will withstand all this horse crap, or are they wondering if he's going to somehow be ousted from office, which isn't going to happen? But the thing of it is this. In the meantime, every day I do my best to get the job done.
Well, let me ask you, Randy.
This nation, the people that voted for Trump are out here working their hearts out, and they see this underachievement, this slothful BS, and you say, I mean, I've called and I've raised holy hell back there in D.C. It's a waste of my time.
Well, whoa, Randy, let me jump in a little bit. It's a two-way conversation. Come on, give me a break here for a minute. Everything you do, I respect, because you have been a vocal kind of thorn in the side back there, as all of us should be. But you know what? I'm fed up with this. The attitude is, it's got so bad, I wonder if they even care. I even wonder about our own constituency, or I should say our own representatives from our state of Idaho, whether it's Crapo, whether it's Risch, whether it's Simpson, whether it's Labrador. I wonder if they really care about us. I mean, why aren't they jumping up and slamming their fists down on the table and saying, look, guys, let's get together and get this health care done. Look, guys and girls, let's get together and get this budget reform, tax reform done. I don't hear the hue and cry. I don't hear anybody saying, come on, let's work as a team and get this put together. Do you?
No, if they were out here in the private sector, they would have been fired long ago. They would have been bankrupt. They would have, they couldn't cut it. And Risch and Crapo and Labrador does pretty well. And Simpson, that worm, the thing of it is this. You know, they don't have to worry about getting reelected. If Simpson can get reelected over and over and over again, the Walking Dead elects that jerk. And so I don't know, Zeb, but you see, the country is $20 trillion in debt, $130 trillion in unfunded mandates,
People don't even know what a trillion is. A trillion is $1,000 bills stacked a foot deep on a football field, if I'm not mistaken. And see, we can't even fathom $1 trillion, but we talk about it all the time like it's hamburgers.
I know, you're right. And your frustration is the same as mine, but I absolutely am not going to let this issue die. You know, it's amazing to me how come people will sit there and they'll go to the coffee shop, the restaurant, they'll stand at a supermarket, and they'll say, well, those doggone Republicans and Democrats are not doing anything. But we're not outraged enough to really go to the meetings when they get to town and let them know that we're not going to vote for them again until they stand up and start doing something. We've got to become more vocalized, Randy. And I applaud you for your efforts. I got to run and do a commercial, but thank you for your call.
You got it, thanks.
Thank you, buddy. He's really, and I respect him, he's a thorn in the side, as we all should be. Back to our so-called legislators that are, here's an oxymoron, working for us. Oakley Merchants invite you to come on over to the Oakley Pioneer Days. It's all this week. You don't want to miss a minute of it. Clark's for Shopping at 100 East Main in Oakley. Hometown grocery store with that famous breakfast sausage from Grandma's recipe. If you haven't had this, it is delicious. Bulk patties or links. And they want everybody to come on over to Oakley and celebrate Oakley Pioneer Days in Oakley. Clark's for Shopping. As does Oakley Valley Stone. 204 West Main Street in Oakley. Beautiful. I just can't say enough about how beautiful the stone is for fireplaces, headstones, landscaping boulders. Oh, it's all there at Oakley Stone. And you need to give them a call at 862-3450. Oakley Stone in Oakley, wishing you a great week at Oakley Pioneer Days. Excellent people. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And speaking of Oakley Pioneer Days, I called Cash Taylor a little bit ago this morning. They're busy up there. Last night they had their team roping. Tomorrow night they've got that great big gymkhana. And I said this on the air the other day, and I had a call yesterday after the program, and they said, boy, are you right. When Oakley puts on a gymkhana for their Oakley Pioneer Days, it is a gymkhana. They get everybody coming out for the fun at that gymkhana. It's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Friday and Saturday, it's the open rodeo, co-sanctioned with the IMPRA. Fireworks and dancing, and Saturday I want to highlight that they're going to have all kinds of fun. The Chuck Wagon breakfast, and then at 11:30 that huge parade. Oh, it's all there at Oakley Pioneer Days for 2017. Don't you miss it. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also on Thursday tomorrow at 9:15, we have a segment called It's Time to Grow with Tony McCammon from the University of Idaho Horticulture Department. And interesting. The man is really, really interesting. He knows flowers and fauna and all that stuff better than anybody else I know. And just be sure and tune in 9:15 tomorrow morning. It's Time to Grow with Tony McCammon. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to ask you a question this morning, and we've talked about this before, but I think it's getting worse every day in this country and around the world. What are we doing to our children? What are we doing to our kids? I think it's tantamount to child abuse. Now, some of the do-gooders in the audience and those that go and click their tongue to the top of their mouth going, oh, Zeb, you're back on a soapbox again. Yes, I am. I believe that we are abusing our children, and I'll tell you why. We're raising them in a false, phony, plastic world. I've really sat down and thought about this again. I've had the subject on the air before, and it's getting worse. You know, we are protecting our kids today from the truth and reality. And then when they finally step out into the world, yep, you see it, the net result of all this protection. We see these millennials that have no responsibility. They have no jobs. They can't keep a job. All they want is gimme, 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 gimme. I'll stand on a street corner. I'll follow some political tirade. I'll smash windows. I'll get my face on the 6 o'clock news or my mask. And this is what we're raising. They can't handle reality and go above it. We have developed into a society, and if you think I'm wrong, call me and let me know. We'll have a good debate. We've developed a society for kids, no competition. Oh, everybody's the same. You're all winners. Bunk. No rules or regulations. Do as you wish. There is no right or wrong. There are no losses in their little world. Oh, they just ignore the losses and they just go on. There are no challenges in their little world. Oh, well, we can't make it tough for them. Why, we've got to smooth the road and make sure that it's nice and even for our kids. There are no goals for our kids. Oh, no. That'd be putting too much pressure on our children. There are absolutely no genders now for our children. I mean, this is insanity. Like that Canadian couple, they're not going to let their child have a gender until the child wants to pick a gender for himself. There are no reprimands. We don't have any yes or no. Don't do that, Johnny. Don't do that, Susie. And I'll tell you what, there's no faith. We've lost our respect and our faith in God and going to church. There's no structure in these kids' lives. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, sir. When you do something and you fail, you look back and, okay, what did I do wrong? And learn from it and try again. That is the beauty of America, where you can fail and fail and fail and then succeed. Look at WD-40. It took the guy 40 times of failing before he got it right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's life. If you want a kid to succeed in life, let him learn winning, losing. Let him learn when he makes a mistake and learn from those mistakes. Don't stop him from making a mistake. Advise him, yes. Say, well, think about this before you do that.
Now, wait a minute. I want to correct your verbiage somewhat, and I think you'll agree with me. It's not only letting them make mistakes, but it's also perhaps letting them make bad choices so they can learn from their bad choices, not to make the choices again.
Exactly, and that starts as a toddler. The word no and a swat on the butt before they're 2 years old, don't showing them what's right and what they can't do and what they can do. And after they're 2 years old, they know basically what's good and what's bad. And you just got to kind of guide them after that. You don't have to get mean. You don't have to beat them after that.
No, Doug, and you know as well as I do, and I hope more parents call in on this. We live in a very conservative area, thankfully still, even though there are liberal leaks coming in here. And there's a lot of good parents, there's a lot of good families, and there's a lot of good young kids that have been raised properly that now have career goals and are working hard to use the talent that God gave them. But in many cases now across the United States, especially in your urban and your downtown and your highly populated areas, those kids are raised in a phony bubble world. And I don't think you can argue that.
I can't argue that one bit. A kid needs to learn responsibility. It doesn't matter what it's doing, whether it's planting a flower and taking care of it and making sure it grows, or taking care of a dog and a cat, or going out and milking 6 cows every morning and night. They need to learn responsibility.
But look at
learn how to manage their time, take care of things, so they get a good, good result. on their effort.
Yeah, but look at what's going on in education today. I mean, I'm not saying across the board, but it is becoming to the point where it's starting to take over the numbers. We are telling these kids, oh, you spelled that word wrong, but that's okay. We know what you meant. Oh, you added 2 and 2 and you came up with 6, but evidently you had a reason for coming up with 6. I mean, we're not saying, Johnny, for heaven's sakes, 2 and 2 is 4. Get it right. You know, what is wrong with telling people that they are wrong in their answer, correct it so that we raise a society that's responsible?
That's very, very true. And I loved math growing up because math is constant. You go 2 and 2 and it's 4 and it's 4 every time. Don't count how you count it and how you add it.
And so is right and wrong.
Exactly. So, I mean, you got to be constant with the kids. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she told me that she's got 2 grandkids that have been growing up around this area on the farm, and she's got 2 that's been in a big city. And when the 2 come from the big city, all they want to do is sit down on their phone. They don't want to go outside and do anything. They don't want to do nothing. The one that's born, raised on the farm, when he comes over, he says, Grandma, it looks like your lawn needs mowed. You want me to mow it for you? So right there's the difference.
Well, you know, I'll give you an example of what I saw the other day. On Wheels, when you go back and forth from the caller to me, make sure you turn them up faster so I can hear them. I'll give you an example of what I saw. This has been a couple of weeks ago in the grocery store. I went with Deanne. And a little boy, he was not that young a kid. He was probably 6 or 7. And he got up to the checkout counter with his mom, and he wanted some candy bar that was right there. And they always put the candy bars and all that stuff right there by the checkout counter. And the kid said, I want that candy bar. His mother said, no, not now. It's too close to supper. And he said, Mom, I said I want that candy bar. And he raised holy heck in the store until she reached over, got it, put it with her other groceries. I would not have caved to that kid. I would have totally ignored that kid until we got outside in the car. And then I think we would have had a personality adjustment.
Exactly, and that's what needs to happen. Parents are lax in their they're lax in their discipline. They don't want to fight the battles. They say, oh, you got to choose your battles. Baloney. If there's a battle there, you take it on to set that kid straight.
Well, and it's not only just in right or wrong or being respectful. It's about the world that they live in. Now they're being told that they're such a purely golden child, that they're all winners. Little Johnny, little Freddie, little Sammy. Why, we're all the same. Even though little Johnny can't catch the baseball, if you handed it to him, oh, we're all going to play the same game and we're all winners. This is asinine, because when you step out into the real world, how many employers are going to treat little Johnny as a winner?
Little Johnny will be on welfare because he won't be able to hold down a job.
That's the point.
He cannot take criticism, and that's my point too. You start when they're a baby. When
absolutely.
They start growing and start grabbing at stuff that's not good. It's a little tap on the diaper and a no. Every time, and I'll tell you, when they get to be 3 and 4 and 5 years old, all you got to do is look at them and say, no, don't do that.
I agree. You know, it's just about, honestly, it's about values. And I dare anybody to call and tell me that we still have the same value system in this country that we did 30 years ago.
We don't. All
right, Doug. God bless you, man.
God bless you, too. And remember, just 2 words, personal responsibility.
Amen. Thank you. Appreciate it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Bama, the Burley Area Merchants Association, is going to have a great big sidewalk sale, not stale. Sorry about that. For 3 days starting tomorrow. Oh, my goodness sakes. Yep, great stores in Burley area to do all your summer, and it's close back to school shopping. Yes, support your friends and neighbors who own local businesses. Shop and say hello to them. Great folks. Burley Area Merchants Association, Bama, with excellent sidewalk sales July 20th through the 22nd in Burley. Every everybody be there. Going to be a lot of fun. Nice people. By the way, also, I want to remind you, too, about Redder Showcase. Hello, Guy, 2611 Overland and Burley, and they're having their annual indoor tent sale. What do you mean, indoor tent sale? That's right, lots of smaller tents set up inside the store where you're going to find the best buys. Holy cow, you better check out all the different refrigerators. You better check out all the Serta mattresses on sale. Great buys throughout the entire store at Redder Showcase for their annual indoor tent sale, 2611 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Okay. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. No matter what time of the program, when or whatever, whenever we do a program on families or raising kids or whatever, those that don't agree, those liberals that think, oh, little Johnny and little Susie, they're so perfect, well, we'll just put them up on the shelf and we'll dust them off. They're just golden children. They'll always call me and harass me after the program. And I love that because then I can also be a lot more free in my response to them. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What do you think about this? I honestly believe the problem we have today, and it's going to get bigger and exacerbated much larger into a huge problem, is that we are letting these kids live in a phony bubble world. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Well, you and I are in the same, close to the same vintage, and we've seen the disintegration of our society over the years. And of course, this is on purpose: destroy the family. Destroy the moral fabric that held us together. And Alex de Tocqueville, the Frenchman, came over here to find out what was responsible for America's greatness. And he found out, he looked at all the different aspects, but it was because of the flaming righteousness coming from the pulpits of the churches in this country. This was around 1830 or something like that. And it was at that time the moral high ground. People attended church of whatever denomination, but they the pastors were out there preaching the gospel from the Bible and not making any bones about the fact that deviant behavior that we tolerate today was totally unacceptable.
That's
and
right.
Ungodly.
That's right.
And my dad always said that man who sleeps with man shall die.
That's right.
And of course, with the AIDS epidemic and so forth, we can see how that's come about, because God will punish even in our time. But it's really sad, Zeb, what you and I have witnessed. But the disintegration of the family and having women being forced to go to work, in many cases because they wanted to, but in most cases it takes two paychecks to keep food on the table anymore.
Yeah.
The family doesn't eat together, and unfortunately church attendance is unfortunately way down. We couldn't really prove in a court of law that we're a Christian nation anymore.
No, I agree with that, and family values have really lessened. Adrian, I'm not trying to push you off. I just got a weather forecast at quarter till the hour. I got to get on, and I certainly appreciate your listening every day. Thank you for your call. God bless.
Yes, have a good day, but we need to bring back religion into our families, have our families together, because the communists, the socialists are doing everything they can to destroy the fabric of America, and bringing in these refugees that will not assimilate is just part of the destruction.
I agree. Thank you very much. God bless you, sir. Thank you. Caller number 2, I've got to ask your indulgence. I'm going to do a quick commercial, then I'm going to come right back with you and then the weather forecast, so stand by. Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo, July 22nd through the 30th, from pioneer days to modern ways. I've said this and I mean this. It is a real country county fair. It's the way it was meant to be, and these are the real salt of the earth people up there in Shoshone at the Lincoln County County Fair and Rodeo. They're going to have junior rodeos. They're going to have ranch rodeos. They're going to have IMPRA rodeos. They're going to have a great big truck and tractor pull. I mean, they're going to have fun. That's what county fairs are all about, and it's all up there in Shoshone. July 22nd through the 30th, from Pioneer Days to Modern Ways, Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo. Call her quickly, and then I'll do the weather forecast.
I agree with everything Adrian says, and I know that everybody needs to send a kid out and find a farmer who needs help, and they need it early in the morning and late at night. And those kids, after a summer on somebody's farm, they'll be a different person.
You know, Chris, I'll go back to the phrase that I used when I was opening up this story. There is no structure. And by doing what you said, they're going to have structure. They're going to develop a personality and responsibility of a work ethic. They're also going to develop a competitive attitude. I think everything you said is absolutely the truth. And these little prima donna parents that think, oh, I can't have my child working out in the sun. Oh, that's terrible. They are going to suffer in the long run.
Well, and you know what? That's the problem. We've gotten so far away from parents expecting things of their kids and giving them responsibility, and then if they don't do what they were told, there's got to be a result.
Absolutely.
Let's pick up a little thing and swat them once in a while, because they aren't born with that in their bones already.
I totally agree with you, and I wish that there was a job available every summer for every kid that is raised in town and has no work ethic, because at the end of the summer, I think you'd see a real change in personality.
It is fun to watch, let me tell you.
Hey, Chris, God bless you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Nice lady right there. And I'll stand behind that statement, too, 100%. Hey, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. It's the only locally owned and independent hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho, and they can and will help you if you have a hearing loss. It might be due to medicine. It might be due to some health problem, a disease, whatever. Please don't let it go. Check it out. Have a hearing screening today. You call them at 312-0957. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here is your weather for this Wednesday as we saddle up and ride again, and it's going to be a sunny one. Expecting a high right near 93, slightly breezy winds out of the northwest, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Sunset tonight going to be at 9:07 if you happen to catch the sunset for tonight. Looks like clear skies and 57 in the overnight hours tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies in the morning, going to give way to mostly sunny skies for tomorrow afternoon. High right around 90. Winds going to be picking up tomorrow as well. Out of the west, 10 to 15 miles an hour tomorrow night. Looking at clear skies, low of 53. Then for Friday, as we kick off the weekend, sunny skies, high of 89. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they're located right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. I urge you to call. Make an appointment for a hearing screening today, 312-0957. Calls are welcome, 436. You know, if you think I'm right or wrong, give me a call about the kids today, because I honestly think, as I said earlier starting this segment, I think what we're doing, how we're raising these kids today, it's almost child abuse. Really. Give me a call. Berry Equipment and Rental. I want to just brag about these guys and gals because they have all the equipment to get the job done right in South Lincoln and Jerome, and, of course, Addison Avenue West in Twin, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. All the Bobcat excavators. Learn how to run a Bobcat. You don't know how to run a Bobcat? Well, then that's fine. You just go in there. They've got a sandbox out behind the location at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They'll teach you, and then you can really go to work. And, of course, all the equipment rentals, retail equipment sales, it's all there. 3 locations, Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Berry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see those good folks today. All right, let's get on the phone. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Honestly, when you look and hear and listen to these millennials, when they try to get their 15 minutes of fame after they've smashed a window with a garbage can or they've set fire to a building. Oh, they're so big, they're so tough, they're so important. Yeah. And you listen to these kids and you wonder, where were mom and dad? What was the structure in their home? What was their bringing up into the world of no competition, no rules, no regulations, no faith, no church, no goals, no challenges? And there they are, dressed in black. Oh, they're real proud. They're real brave, and they put masks over their face so nobody can see who they are, and then they smash a window. Oh, it takes a real education to smash a window. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. So interesting that you're talking about this today, and I just barely turned in to listen. So I'm not sure what it said before, but interesting enough, I was reading an article yesterday on the Internet, and it was from a family therapist, and she said, if you are waking your kids, she had do's and don'ts for parenting. She said, if you're waking your kids up to go to school and they're in middle school, stop it. She also said, stop making their breakfast, stop packing their lunch. She said, we have so little ways nowadays to have our kids have some accountability and responsibility, and we just rob them of that by tending to their every need. And then she also went on to say, if your kids forget their homework, well, then they forgot their homework. Then they won't do it the next time. Do not run it to the school. So she kind of had this whole list, and it was really just about teaching responsibility. And it is sad because we live in a time, I feel, that there's not a lot of opportunity. I am envious of people who get to raise their kids on a farm. Like, there is work for you to do, and it is hard for town kids, so to speak, whatever that means, to really have those opportunities. And they should be mowing the lawn and weeding the garden. And, you know, I even knew of a man who made his kids wash every old lady's car in the neighborhood every Saturday, and for free. And so you have to be creative when you're a townsfolk to come up with some ways, but I did like those do's and don'ts, and, you know, your kids can get themselves out of bed. They need to at least do that much.
You know, let me ask you something, and I'm old. I'm an old man, and I remember way back into the 50s, you know, the Disney Corporation, and they had a little segment called Spin and Marty. Do you at all remember or know of that show?
I don't, and I'm not that young, Zeb, but I can't remember.
Well, you know, I'm really careful because, boy, I don't want to insinuate any age here, but I did. I remember this, and basically the premise of that show, Spin and Marty, was a couple of street kids, town kids, that got in trouble, and they went to live on this ranch and learn their personal responsibility and work ethics and everything else. And the gist of the whole show was Spin and Marty, they turned out to be pretty doggone good kids.
Yeah, and we need to provide those opportunities for our kids, and sometimes you have to be clever as a parent. One of the problems, though, is that, you know, when you're a working mom and your kids are staying home all day, like, you know what, it's a tough deal, so you do have to be creative, and sometimes I do think it is really hard on those working moms. Well, they know that they need to be teaching their kids responsibility, and at the same time, it's like, please just don't burn the house down while I'm gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a tough thing. It's hard to teach your kids that. I think I agreed with what Chris was saying. It would be an idyllic situation if we could send our kids to, you know, move pipe every summer. And my kids had the opportunity to do that, even though we're town kids. We found a farmer that they could do that with. So I don't know. It's tough out there, and stop helping your kids.
Yeah, it's tough out there, but like you said, and you said it very succinctly, is that we've got to stop mollycoddling these kids. We've got to stop giving them everything. We've got to stop providing excuses for their failures. Let them fail, let them learn, and let them be responsible. Thank you so much.
Agreed, Zeb. Have a good one.
All right. God bless. Nice lady right there. I can see some of the liberals in the audience going, oh, I can't let my little Johnny fail. Why, he's a winner 100% of the time. Bunk. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And they want to have you get where you're going this summer. safely. Absolutely, with the best of tires, all the different tread designs, all the different sizes for all the different vehicles. They want you to have fun, drive carefully, and believe me, they know all about the tires. And the best in brake service. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, it's all there. But service always reigns supreme. They are good, and they really take care of you. They value your business. So you stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Coming up next hour at 9:06, Dave Bego from Indianapolis, Indiana. And then a story you don't want to miss at 9:30, Rachel Alexander writing for The Stream. This is really going to be interesting this morning, so I'm just going to kind of tease it a little bit. You be sure and tune in. Bob Humphreys at 10:06, Jack Euler at 10:32. Zeb at the Ranch, I'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, good morning. Good morning on a Wednesday. Oh, man, it's summertime. I love summer. So much going on. I got to admit, I'll tell you this in just a minute. Stand by. Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and also some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is landing ahead, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, the thing I like about Western Waste Services, they absolutely are loyal and really have a commitment to serve the community and the people that they serve. And call them, get on the route service, and watch your garbage be loaded on the truck, and goodbye garbage. And they're so close to being right on the minute. I mean, man, you could set your watch by these folks. Really, really good people. Always at your disposal, Western Waste Services, 734-6969. I want to remind you, too, on Mondays, lovely lady, dear friend to this program, Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens, and the segment called Gardening for Idiots, named after me because I'm not a very good gardener. But Vicky's teaching me Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Oh, my goodness sakes, all the perennials and the fruit trees and all your yard needs for bark, rock, and decor items. Oh, it's all there at Vicky's Country Garden in Paul. Give her a call, 438-5663. Also, I want to mention quickly before we go to Dave Bego that Ark Animal Hospital, what a great, great place for your pets or your farm animals, because it's a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, they love them all. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses, and believe me, it's tick and flea season, and if you're taking your dog out there into the bush and the brush and everything else, watch out for ticks, and your pet can also give you ticks, so be careful and have a tick exam. Anyway, you be sure and check it out today and keep your animals healthy by going to Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn, where I said they have warm hearts for cold noses. Call them at 678-1177. Hey, quickly, lots of fun at the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo up in Shoshone. These folks have one of the originals, one of the great country county fairs. It is outstanding. And the theme this year, from pioneer days to modern ways, they're going to have junior rodeos. They're going to have a ranch cowboy rodeo. They're going to have IMPRA rodeo. They're going to have a great big United truck and tractor pull. I mean, they're going to have a county fair the way it was meant to be up in Lincoln County on the days of July 22nd through the 30th in Shoshone, the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo. Well, howdy do to Dave Bego in Indianapolis. How are you?
I'm doing good, Zeb. How you doing?
If I was any better, the wrong fat man would be wearing my clothes. Don't chuckle, just agree.
Chuckle.
You know, I got to admit, I'm falling into a bad habit. And I don't know if you're like this during the course of the day, but I'm sure that with your hectic schedule and like mine, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I start organizing for this program. Well, in the summer months, we have a very pretty backyard that Deanna and I are very proud of. And lately, the last couple of weeks, I find myself after a light lunch going out and finding one of my Cabela lawn chairs. And it's amazing how when you get in that Cabela lawn chair, tip back, I close my eyes, and I fall asleep. It's amazing.
Well, you know, Zeb, at your age, that's pretty typical. So I don't see a problem with that at all.
Easy, Big O. Don't pet the dog; it might bite. At my age. Okay. Hey, I want to talk to you a little bit. Honestly, Dave, in all seriousness, have you ever seen such a mess in this country, such anti-feelings against our president and this administration? The left is jumping out of buildings trying to get this president impeached. What's going on here?
Well, you know, the left, the Democratic Party, the unions, they are all in dire straits. They're down, you know, and desperate people do desperate things, and they're desperate to get Trump out of office, make him look bad, make the Republicans look bad, so they can rebuild their political clout and fundamentally change this country. You know, I've talked many times, Zeb, that they don't. And I'm talking about the far left. A lot of Democrats, I think, don't understand what's going on in their own party. But you know, the far left, the ones that want to control us, they just want to fundamentally bring down this country and turn us into a socialistic, communistic country. And they're not going to stop until we expose them and bring them down.
How do you, as a party, and I'm talking about the Democrats, how do you rebuild, using your words, political clout when you, A, number one, don't have a platform, B, all you are is negative, and C, all you want to do is create havoc and incite violence?
Well, because the people that aren't really part of the political party need to stand up and address their party and go after these people that do this stuff, and you know, like the union bosses and the far left and Soros and those people. And but unfortunately, in this country, too many people don't want to stand up and address these things, and on both sides of the aisle. And I mean, look at the Republican Party and what they've done with Obamacare. I mean, it's sad what's going on. People need to stand up and do the right things for this country and start listening to all this stuff about, you know, and this is the left. They use these terms on purpose to get people's votes and sympathy and all, you know, income equality and racial divide and all this kind of stuff. And they're the ones actually creating all this stuff.
Yeah. Dave, let me ask you, as a businessman, and both of us, of course, I'm a very small business owner. You have many, many employees. But if you could change the perspective of your business right now to where you're a politician and you're in charge of making sure that rewrite of the healthcare system is finished by a certain date and it addresses all the problems, why can't it be done?
Well, because you have, and you know, there was an interesting article this week about it called "Why the GOP is so dumb," and it's basically because you have people in the Republican Party that are rhinos and you know, Republicans in name only, and they are fighting it. They don't want to change it because they want to continue to get votes in their particular areas, and the Republican Party won't come together, and the leaders of the Republican Party won't, you know, put their foot forward and get some backbone and get these people straightened out so they can move forward. We can, you know, reduce our deficit in this country, get our health care back online where people have a choice in health care, and the premiums go down, the costs go down, and, you know, and again, I wrote a blog about this on the healthcare situation a few years ago, that what you have to do is you got to open up competition across state lines and give people a chance to go out and fairly compete, and the healthcare industry to really become more efficient.
You mentioned the problems with the Republican Party, and I'm going to be denouncing both sides of the aisle. The Democrats, of course, with their resist, do nothing attitude, and the Republicans with a attitude of, just show up and everything's going to be rosy. Are you insinuating, and I'm asking you, if you would be in favor? I'll say it right up front. I would love to see Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, and the rest of those types thrown completely out of the fray. Let's bring in some people that are going to get the job done, and the heck with personalities. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, and I've talked about this before, and I've written about it before, that, we have people in the head of the Senate and the House that, and I've met them both, I've talked to them both, and when you stand there and talk to them about these issues, they'll stand there and listen to you, but they have no backbone or guts. You can tell, as you mentioned and talk about some of these things, that they're just not going to do it. And we need strong leaders. And the other thing we need, and I'll say this, and I've said it in the past, and I'll say it over and over again, we need term limits because people need to go and serve their country and then go back to the private sector. And that's one of the biggest problems we have in this country.
I never, up until 2 years ago, and I'm being very bluntly honest, I was against term limits. I always used the adage that, we have term limits, it's at the ballot box. No, I am admitting I was wrong. I am absolutely adamant in term limits right now. I want to see the McConnells go to work in a pharmacy someplace filling shelves. I want to see Ryan absolutely have to get his fingernails dirty going back to Janesville, Wisconsin. I want to see people go back and fill their chairs, and others that are going to work for the constituents and know that they have a short time to get it done.
Well, that's exactly right, and that's what you need. You need incentive for people to do the job and do the right things, and not incentive to go out and play the game so that you have a job in Washington that pays well, and the perks and everything are great. So what you do, instead of doing things that are right for this country, you're out figuring out how to get votes. And so you can stay in your seat. And that's the wrong thing in this country. And I know our forefathers were against it. And, we need to get term limits put in place so that people, like I say, they go out and they do the right things for this country, serve their term to go back to the private sector.
One of the things I'm very concerned about, Dave, and I'm not naive about health care whatsoever, because I've been involved in studying it ever since Obama had the idea, Obamacare. But I am very concerned that if the Republicans and the Democrats can't put together a health care system for this country, and by the way, I should inject, I'm not in favor of the government even being involved in it. But if they are, I want a system that's going to work. I don't want to see it fail to the point where we have to accept single payer, because then I think at that juncture, healthcare in America is done.
Well, the single payer, there's one reason they want that, and that's the ultimate goal of why they put Obamacare in place, and that's control. You control people's health care, you control people. It's just like, as I've talked about in the past, with Cloward and Piven bringing, their ideas of bringing down this country, and health care was one of them. You get to single payer, you control the country, you control people. It's the same with Common Core, with education, it's the same with entitlement programs, gun control. You just go down the line, and these are all means, if you step back and really think about it, these are all means of control. It's not means of helping people. And America needs to wake up to this fact.
I want to change gears here a little bit. The left just absolutely is, they must use a microscope or even a telescope to find something daily that they can throw in front of the rabid press like CNN and MSNBC and say, oh, no, Donald Trump got up from his chair at the G20 summit at a dinner and he walked over to Putin and talked to him for a few moments. Why, that was an unscheduled meeting. Oh, my goodness, how clandestine, how dangerous. This is insane, Dave Bigo.
Well, it is, and I've been through it with the SEIU. They did the same things against us, and you have to stand up. And I was talking, I was at an outing yesterday, and I was sitting at a table having dinner, and I was talking to some businessmen about it, and they were concerned about Trump. And I said, Trump has some right ideas, but the problem with Trump is he will not stand up and expose these people in a professional manner. He still does the tweeting and all that. A lot of people say, well, that's good. He gets around the mainstream media. But what he really does is give them more bullets to shoot him with.
Yeah.
And he needs to get out in front of these people and debate them, and he needs to be out in front of the people around the country and talk to them. And so they see that he means the right things, and he exposes the other side and shoots down the stuff that they're doing. And that's what you have to do.
You know, and I totally agree with you. Can you imagine, honestly, just think about this and then give me your response. Can you imagine if starting this morning, on this Wednesday, July 19th, that Trump stopped tweeting today, tomorrow, the next day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, why, the media would go into a fit of hysterics. What happened to the president? We can't talk to him anymore. We can't get any information. What's going on here? I think it'd be the best thing in the world.
Well, absolutely. And, and like I say, instead, you expose some of these things that they throw out there that just aren't true. And that's what we did with the SEIU, and when we turned the tables on them, they had nowhere to go.
Will you, do you think, I should say, that health care and a budget reform, tax reform, is totally out of the question for this year, 2017? Are we going to have to put pressure on these people during the rest of 2017 going into 18, or will it be at that time too late?
Well, I'm concerned. I'm concerned that it's, going to continue to be pushed around, and it's not going to get done. But, again, Trump needs to spend some time with the Republican Party and, the Senate and the House, and get them to really go in the right direction and expose what's going on again to them, and expose some of those that are rhinos, and move this thing forward. And it can be done, but you have to spend some time doing it, and he's going to have to get on it.
You know, a story that's not a political story, but I want to get your opinion on this. I remember vividly where I was, what I was doing when O.J. Simpson was in the back seat of the white Bronco and the so-called Bronco chase in California. And I firmly believe that O.J. Simpson got away with murdering 2 people. And the only reason he served prison sentence on this last because of an armed assault on memorabilia thieves, accordingly with the law in Las Vegas. And now he's up for parole tomorrow, and he may be released October 1st. And I think it's despicable and a sham against our justice system. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, and again, this is, you come back to the liberal ideas on stuff that, we shouldn't do this to people, and everybody ought to be treated equally, and you can't really go after people like this and do things like this, and it's sad, their mindset, it really is, because the truth is, at the end of the day, Zeb, we have to hold people responsible.
Right.
That's what this country was based on, and if they don't obey our laws, and if we don't uphold our laws, we're in trouble.
Well, yeah, but I said in the first hour, we were talking about kids, and I think I said that in the first hour, what we're doing and how we're raising our kids today is almost child abuse, because we're raising them with no rules or regulations, no competition, no losses, no challenges, no goals, no reprimands, no faith, no structure, and quite frankly, we're to blame for letting the kids do what they're doing today. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Kids have to be incentivized and understand that they have to work hard and compete and do the right things. And, again, that's what made this country great and allowed us to accomplish things the rest of the world's never accomplished. And now you're getting people that just want to sit back, and I still believe this is part of the far left's and communism and socialism's goal of overtaking this country is that you get into the education system they have over the years, and they fundamentally changed who we are and how we approach things, and it's easier for them to assimilate us and take control.
Absolutely. By the way, if you haven't noticed, since the All-Star break, my Cubbies beat Baltimore 3 games straight. Then they moved down to Atlanta, and they have won 2 straight from the Braves. They are on a 5-game winning streak, and pitchers that I thought were has-beens are starting to get new life in their arms. John Lester and Lackey. Holy cow, I'm in heaven. We're on a 5-game winning streak.
Well, Zeb, I told you before the All-Star break, we've still got a lot of the season to go. You just got to hang in there, and hopefully my prediction is right.
Well, you sent me, and I want everybody to know this. Doggone it, I didn't put them behind my camera this morning. I've got them over on my wall. 2 beautiful wall hangings of the Chicago Cubs and their victory for the World Series last year. And repeating is going to be doggone tough, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, or whether it's baseball. But quite frankly, the way their bats and their offense and their defense and their pitching has come alive, maybe there's a chance. I don't know.
Well, we got a long way to go. You just don't know how sports is an interesting situation. You just don't know how some teams could go up or down here in the remainder of the season.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dave, I always look forward to having you on the program, and you're a dear friend of the show, author of great books, The Devil on Our Doorstep, The Devil at Our Doorstep, and My Doorstep. I almost repeated myself, and I did. And a great businessman. Anything for final words that we can hang on the halls of posterity this morning?
No, I just want to see Americans stand up, get some backbone, understand what's going on in this country, and return us to the things that made us great.
Well, you're always welcome here, and I certainly hope that sometime this summer, before summer's over, we can meet, like maybe in Colorado or something, and have a bottle of wine and a big steak, not necessarily in that order. And God bless you for being on the program.
Well, thanks, and I hope we get to meet too. Take care, Zeb.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Dave Bego, Indianapolis, Indiana. Just a really nice man, and a great businessman, too. I've got to pay some bills, and I want to tell everybody about our dear friend Joel Heward at Hanson Mortuary, along with his family and his staff. These people really care. When there's the passing of a loved one, I mean, we've talked about this. Everything is up in the air. You don't know about all the time constraints. You don't know what has to be done in a certain time. Oh, my goodness. Let them help. They can, and they will take care of all the arrangements with you. And always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Write the number down where you can easily find it. They're there to serve you. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. Let's see, I got another note here before I go any further. I'm running a little bit behind this morning, and I want to remind everybody about BAMA. I love that. BAMA, Burley Area Merchants Association. And they're going to have their great big sidewalk sales starting tomorrow and going through Saturday, the 20th through the 22nd. And shop locally and save. And do all your summer and, listen to this, back-to-school shopping. It's that time. Yeah, it really is. It's not going to be too much longer. Mommy, I'm ready for school. Yes, sirree. And do all your shopping right there in Burley. And, of course, you'll boost the local employment. You'll promote economic development. And people just are really great folks with businesses that can serve you as part of the Burley Area Merchants Association, BAMA, with their big, big sidewalk sales this week, the 20th through the 22nd. Oh, some really good folks there. And also, let's see, coming up in just a moment, we're going to have Rachel Alexander, and she writes for The Stream, and she is good. Wrote a very interesting piece about conservative talk show host Dana Loesch, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Don't forget, let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. They've got all the watercraft. I mean, zoom around the lakes and down the rivers and streams. Oh, my goodness, stay cool this summer. And they've got all the four-wheelers and the side-by-sides, and they've got all the accessories. Holy cow. Nick, Randy, and all the crew at Let's Ride. And, of course, also a great service department. They can keep you running. Stop in today or give them a call. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, 436-4771, where the fun is sold. Really good people. And talking about good people, that also leads us over to Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Hello, how are you folks doing? Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits for you, your family, and your business. They care, and they can help you protect those, okay? Dedicated and responsive to your needs. All you need to do is have the incentive to call for an appointment, 436-4424. Don't put it off. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really, the professionals. Well, right now, we're going to get ready to go on the phone line to a very, very sharp lady. I missed her on television the other day. I was just walking out of the house, and I heard her name announced on Fox News. Rachel Alexander, I miss seeing you on TV.
Well, you can still go back and watch the clip that's out there.
Why, you're famous now, Rachel.
Hey, I've been on Fox News before.
I know you have.
Back on. It's been a few years.
And every single time I've heard your name, I've always missed it. And I want to compliment you right up front. You've been on my program a lot, and I'm going to continue to have you on the show. But you wrote a very interesting piece about Dana Loesch and the NRA and the loony left. And I'm going to kind of give you the time right now for a summation, and then I'll start firing questions at you. So go ahead and tell me about this article.
Well, basically what happened is Dana Loesch, the conservative fiery talk show host for The Blaze, she did this outstanding ad for the NRA, and it was so cleverly done that it made the left furious, because what she did is she just she destroyed the ruse the left always puts out there, confusing innocent gun owners trying to protect themselves from gun violence, confusing them with violent felons who commit crimes with guns. And so she turns that around, and this ad goes out and condemns all the violence that the left is causing, from protests to clashes with police. And she denounces it and says the violence must stop, and she says that, the rest of us need to, fight with the pen, fight with, free speech to shut down the violence. And that's it. And the left turned it around on her and tried to say that she was calling to incite violence, when in fact it was just the opposite.
Wow. I read this story that you had written, and again, I compliment you on it. But how in the world today can we, or are we, letting the left twist things like a pretzel and turn us, the right and conservatives, into bigots and hate mongers over something they, the left, are promoting. This is insane, but they're good at it.
Yeah, I think that people are not really good when it comes especially to the gun issue. I just think if people would repeat over and over again, we're the innocent gun owners. We are the opposite of the violent felons who steal guns and do things. We're trying to protect ourselves from them. I think we could get our message across better, but people are just kind of sloppy for some reason when it comes to that issue.
Well, yeah, but wait a minute. Let me stop you there and ask you a question. I'm a gun owner. I don't know if you are a gun owner. It's really none of my business. However, if push comes to shove and my property, my family, or myself are ever in hazards or harm's way because of these kooks and these crackpot liberals wanting to do any kind of damage or incite any kind of violence against me, I will protect myself and my family. I think that goes without saying. How can they twist that around?
Because they can blur the lines, you know. You hear about all these people who try to defend themselves, you know, police officers trying to defend themselves. And the left turns it around and says, no, that really wasn't a police officer defending himself. That was a police officer who was racist. And so that's why he shot that black man or something like that. So they're turning, you know, completely innocent acts and criminalizing them or, you know, acting like they were criminal acts. I mean, it's very Orwellian what they're doing.
You know, in your article, you included a little paragraph about Black Lives Matter activists. And I almost, if it wasn't so serious, I would have started to chuckle over the idiocy of Black Lives Matter. These activists are saying, oh, well, they use their guns to assassinate black people. They're talking Black Lives Matter on the police, etc. Wait a minute. The absolutely senseless and absolutely classless remarks that Black Lives Matter, walking across the bridge saying pigs in a blanket, roast them and everything. What kind of insanity can they do and use to turn Black Lives Matter into the innocents when they promoted violence with every single march that they've had?
That's exactly right. Not only are they saying these horrible things about cops and falsely demonizing them, but they're committing acts of violence themselves. And these acts of violence are increasing. They're going up. They're harming innocent people. We've seen all the businesses they've destroyed and burned down. It's just getting worse, and it's escalating. And I really do think that Dana Loesch's ad put a little bit of a dent in this escalation.
I hope so. You know, and then you also had in your article another sentence that I've got to read, and then I want your response to this. Black Lives Matter Los Angeles released a video response. They use their guns to assassinate black people. They use their schools to funnel black students through a school-to-prison pipeline. Wait a minute. Right there, I was incensed because you talk about Chicago. You talk about the South Side. You talk about the black gangs upon black gangs. You talk about the daily shootings and killings. How dare a group like Black Lives Matter condemn us, the whites, and other people for their problem in their community? And quite frankly, if Black Lives Matter was any kind of an organization at all, why aren't they trying to stop the killing and the mayhem in cities like Chicago?
That's right. They don't want to admit that it's the Democrats' failed policies that have put them in these places that is responsible for, you know, blacks ending up in prison. Because the Democrats are running these poor public schools. The Democrats are the ones saying, oh, you shouldn't blame single mothers. You should not have, there's no stigma at all for being a single mother, when the reality is kids need their father too. It's these policies they keep pushing, and these black activists, and I'm not going to say blacks because not all blacks agree with these radicals. These Black Lives Matter activists just keep the myth and the lies going. And, you know, thank goodness for some conservative blacks out there who speak up and they try to fight back. They all get called Uncle Toms and they don't get invited on, you know, the fancy talk shows, but you know, they are out there, and they are embarrassed by Black Lives Matter because they don't represent them.
You know, I'm glad you said it that way, because I think there needs to be a discernment that when we lump people together, regardless of the category, that's wrong. But I will say that of all my black friends, and I have many all across the United States, I have called them and asked them about their feelings about Black Lives Matter. And their attitude has been absolutely with me, that they, Black Lives Matter, is a group that is absolutely causing more divisiveness, more hatred, and more of a return to the 60s Alabama style with what happened in Selma, more so than any other group in America today. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, that's a very good observation. I figured the conservative blacks were with us, but now that you mention it, I think some of them are really with us. Like, this group really bothers them. You know, I have a black conservative boyfriend, and he just finds their tactics absolutely outrageous. They don't speak for him, and so he walks around wearing his Trump hat proudly, and nobody messes with him because he is kind of a tough-looking guy. But yeah, I mean, I think these guys are speaking up. You got people like Sheriff David Clark who really have a lot of guts, and I know he's received threats, but I think they're a key to turning some of this, false rhetoric around.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question for you, Rachel, so stand by, and I hope you can hear it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go, please.
Well, when you talk about black social issues, you know, the intellectual insincerity of the black leadership, the Democratic Party, whether or not they're black or white, the fact that the African American people continue to vote for these fraudulent jerks, it makes them look like they're, how do you say that they should know better? You see, if we call them a name that might say that they're not as bright as they ought to be, see, that's not true. Some of the brightest people I've ever heard are black people. And you see, the thing of it is it's such an injustice to the good people that are out here working hard and raising their families, and all this fraudulent BS. Why they continue to do it, because some of these people are suffering dearly, even though they should know better, I guess. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, Rachel.
You know, there's an interesting thing going on here, I think. You know, these black people who continue to vote Democrat are watching CNN. They're not watching Fox News. They're getting all their mainstream news from the biased sources. And my black boyfriend said something very interesting to me the other day. He's kind of an intellectual, very bright guy, and likes to read educated things and watch documentaries. He told me when he talks to a lot of his black friends, however, he says he has to almost dumb himself down and not talk about things like that because it would sort of destroy his image. I think what's going on is there is a heck of a lot of peer pressure in the black community, and they are being pressured to see things one way, look at things one way, and if not, you're going to feel, the wrath of, the leadership or whoever, just some of your peers saying, you're not acting like one of them.
Well, I think you've hit the nail right on the head there, Rachel, because look at what is indicative of the problem in Chicago. Why aren't they cleaning up their own area? Why aren't they getting rid of the crime? Why aren't they taking care of the killers, turning them in? Why aren't they getting and denouncing the gangs? I mean, you've answered your own question.
Well, I think, too, they're not cleaning up all that stuff because they've got what they want. What they want is a voting bloc that votes Democrat. And so the city might be in shambles, but hey, they got their Democrat votes, gosh darn it, and they're going to make sure that, not only Chicago, but, most of there's enough of them that'll affect the rest of the state. They can keep Illinois a blue state, gosh darn it.
Well, let me use this analogy for a minute because I want to hear your response to this. When you listen to the vile, filthy words from Maxine Waters of California, Representative Waters, and then you listen to the very articulate, soft-spoken, encouraging everybody to be successful Dr. Ben Carson, you'd swear you just can't even draw a correlation between those two people.
I think part of it's the whole Santa Claus aspect of the liberal mentality. Dr. Ben Carson is telling people to, clean up your act and, don't buy into all this rhetoric, whereas Maxine Waters is telling people you should have more possessions, you should have a nicer house, you should have a better car. The only reason you don't is because of racism. You're a victim. If you've got to just get out there and vote Democrat and protest, because that way you'll have all these nice things that these racists have kept from you.
And you made a very interesting point in your article about Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, that absolutely twisted and turned the story around about Dana Lash, where he said that she was telling people to shoot liberals. I didn't read that in the article at all. Where do these Democrats get off? That's almost libelous and slanderous, and I think the man ought to be sued.
I agree with you. I do. You probably can't because he's a public figure, and he'll just say something like, well, it implied that, he'll sneak out of it. But he does it because he knows he can get away with it. People don't have time these days, like those of us who do politics for a living. They don't have time to read everything, watch everything. Most of these people are just getting a sound clip from CNN, and I'm sure they played that sound clip on CNN over and over and over again, and, didn't actually play the whole Dana Lash video deliberately.
Yeah. One thing I noticed the other night watching the news, it's been about 2 weeks ago, a group called Antifa. And they're coming out and they're just blatantly telling everybody that will listen to these jerks that they're going to promote violence, they're going to have violence, they're going to do violent things against the Trump supporters and or conservatives. And yet, how can they get away with saying something like this? And yet Dana Lash never makes an inference about any violence, and she is up for public scrutiny and outrage.
Because they're trying to couch themselves in the clothes of, Martin Luther King Jr.'s protests, which really were peaceful protests, but they were sitting there on those steps, for a few hours. That's going too far. So they tried to compare themselves to that and say, we're just, looking out for people's best interests and freedom and social justice, and we're just in the style of Martin Luther King Jr.
Rachel, I compliment you again on an excellent article, written in the stream, and I hope you'll come back again in the future. I always enjoy having you on the program. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you, and God bless.
All right, thank you. Rachel Alexander, an excellent article about conservative talk show host Dana Lash and how the left, the absolutely off-the-wall, unhinged left, twists and turns the reality of a situation into a completely loony fantasy world. These people are nuts. Man. Anyhow, as we move along in our everyday series of trying to get rid of liberalism, it's time for the weather. And the weather brought to you this hour by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. We had Lyden Crane on the program with us yesterday, representing Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, who have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. The very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, and financial statement preparation, payroll services, bookkeeping services. The list goes on and on and on. They are good. Get a hold of them today with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here is your weather for this Wednesday as we saddle up and ride again, and it's going to be a sunny one. Expecting a high right near 93, slightly breezy winds out of the northwest, 5 to 10 miles an hour. sunset tonight going to be at 9:07 if you happen to catch the sunset for tonight. Looks like clear skies and 57 in the overnight hours tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies in the morning, going to give way to mostly sunny skies for tomorrow afternoon. High right around 90. Wind's going to be picking up tomorrow as well. Out of the west, 10 to 15 miles an hour tomorrow night. Looking at clear skies, low of 53. Then for Friday, as we kick off the weekend, sunny skies, high of 89. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Very well done, as usual. Thank you, Gina. Weather brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Excellent people that are helping you as individuals with your taxes or businesses, corporations. Absolutely the best. Burley and Rupert locations for Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I've got some time. Give me a jingle on the landline at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you. Did you hear about this rapper Snoop Dogg? I mean, what a name. It's almost disgusting. He's made a lot of money in the rap music world, or you can put a C in front of the rap. Anyway, Snoop Dogg. Here's a real pillar of our communities today. Now he is advocating violence against our police. As a matter of fact, he's showing a video, I believe, on his website about two punk thugs beating up a policeman at a fast food restaurant. That's what we need more of, he said on this tape. This is disgusting. He is also the bum rapper, and I'll use that, that mocked the assassination of President Trump, Snoop Dogg. And this guy gets the press. This guy gets the articles, and a lot of people hail him as, oh, he's so inventive with his music and everything. Oh, baloney. Snoop Dogg. The lowest part of our community, I think, and now advocating violence against our police. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I want to remind you about our dear friends. Give me a call. Come on, I want to hear from you. It's your program. Give me a jingle and we'll talk about any subject you want to. Ag Express is looking for drivers. And boy, oh boy, have they got some great job openings for full and part-time positions. Retired folks are welcome to apply, and they'll work around your schedule 2 or 3 days a week, whatever works best for you, and you're home every night. That's the key. And they've got great, new and maintained equipment, vacation schedules, benefit programs, and no seasonal downtime. Call Dale in Paul at 438-8886, Alan in Twin Falls at 731-2495, and Chad in Burley at 670-7219. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. Get a hold of them today. A gentleman called, he didn't call me, he emailed me, and talked to me a little bit about a story that I was not aware of, and I think it's a despicable story, that he had seen on a television newscast, and we did a little follow-up, and it was a story that took place, I believe, back in Memphis, Tennessee. And what the gist of the story is, at a restaurant called the Border Grill, Mexican Grill and Cantina, some customers left a note, and it was for their server. And on the check that was left on the table for them to pay, these people had written in black ink on the top portion of the table's final receipt, "We don't tip white people." Wow. We don't tip white people. Now, I read the story that was put out by local Memphis News and put on the internet, and there is no reference as to who wrote the note or the color of their skin, but one can make the inference that it must have been maybe someone of another race. We don't tip white people. You know, racism in this country is running rampant. Racism and the divides that are being caused now, I think, are as bad or worse than they were when I was growing up and going to school in the 60s. And I feel saddened about this. I mean, I've mentioned earlier, I've got a lot of black friends, and I hate to even use the term black. I mean, I look at them as friends, not the color. But let's be definitive here and talk about what's going on. They, my friends, would be outraged over a story like this. Some idiot leaving a note saying, we don't tip white people. I remember a lady that worked at a hotel in Oklahoma City. And I stayed there every year when I was back working the World Quarter Horse Show. She was a black manager of this hotel. Let's just get right down to basics. This lady had a great way of remembering first names. And every year, I always checked in around the first part of November, and I was there for about 2 weeks. Every single year I was there, and I was there for a whole bunch of years. The minute I walked in after I was on the express car coming from the airport, she would say, Zeb, good to see you again. And you know, she was just, her and her husband worked there also. And they were the friendliest, nicest people with a first name basis. And there was no racism. There was no racial divide. You didn't even think about it. But then, now in today's so-called modern world, with the left absolutely using everything they can to disrupt our society, we hear stories about we don't tip white people. This is insane. And it's got to stop. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to remind you about Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. And they really are a wonderful business and serving you and your loved ones. Yes, that's right. And they make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. And they invite you to come by the facility to visit anytime, take a tour, check them out. Beautiful patio in the backyard, barbecues, all kinds of gatherings. Oh, man, I'm telling you, they really care. They're located, like I said, at 924 Christian Way in Rupert, and the number to call, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. Tomorrow is Lunch Bunch Day at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. We hope to see you there at 11:30. Our thanks go out to our gift certificate sponsors, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Grocery, Doug Martin, Redneck Cup Holders. Oh, come on and be there with us tomorrow at 11:30 at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Absolutely delicious. Coming up next hour, we're going to talk a little bit more about the great induction ceremony of the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame for this year. And Bob Humphreys is going to be on the air with us at 10:06. And then at 10:32, we're going to talk to a dear old friend. Jack Euler is going to be here talking about the old nemesis problem here in the state of Idaho and the Northwest, the wolf problem. But right now, we're going to turn it back over to Wheels. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, my last hour of the program, Zeb at the Ranch on a Wednesday with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and along with also some of our great advertisers. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. We're going to tell you and have our guest on the phone with us in just a moment, but stand by. Oakley Merchants inviting you over to the Oakley Celebration Pioneer Days this weekend in Oakley, and they include Searles at 106 North Center Street in Oakley. All the gas, the grub, and the goodies. Oh, the store opens at 6 in the morning, stays open till 9 at night. Great folks with their specialty buns, baked fresh every day at Searles. Come on over to Oakley Pioneer Days. Also, Speaker of the House, House and our dear friend Scott Bedke invite you to come on over for the 130th celebration of the best celebration in the state of Idaho, Oakley Pioneer Days. Thank you very much, Rancher Scott Bedke, Speaker of the House. And last but not least, Smith's Cafe at 135 East Main in Oakley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 6:30 in the morning till 1 p.m. in the afternoon, Sundays until 11 a.m. Oh, have they got some delicious burgers over there and onion rings to die for. Absolutely a great place to eat. Smith's Cafe in Oakley, and they invite you to Oakley Pioneer Days. Well, they're in the middle of everything right now. They had their big team open last night. Tomorrow night they've got the Gymkhana. Friday and Saturday night the open rodeo co-sanctioned by the IMPRA. Fireworks, dancing, basketball, volleyball tournaments. Oh my goodness, all of this and so much more. And then on Saturday, don't forget the famous Oakley Pioneer Day Parade at 11:30 in the morning. Gonna be and always is a lot of fun. Oakley Pioneer Days, all of this week in Oakley. Right now, we have a call, I believe, waiting on the other end of the line. Wheels, is this my guest or a caller? Please tell me.
It's a caller. It's just Jerry.
All right, Jerry, real fast. I've got a guest waiting. Go ahead.
Yes, I agree with that note. I don't tip white people either. I tip the service I get. And, I found all races give me outstanding service. Not every one from every race, but, there's people in them that just do a better job than others. And if they tip me, if they do excellent service for me, I'll tip them more. And I tip by the amount of quality service I get.
I agree with you, and I've got a guest waiting.
They're going to get the most tip, and if they are a poor server, they're going to get the least.
All right, Jerry, I appreciate it.
White people or any other race.
I appreciate it, Jerry. I really don't have time right now, but I thank you for your comment because it was a very important subject that we were talking about last hour. I've got a guest waiting in the wings, and I've got to get him on. Jerry Voss, good friend, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it. Thank you. God bless you, man.
Great day, and may the Lord bless you and every one of your little children out in the radio audience listening.
Thanks, Jerry. Right now we're going to go to the phone line, and I'm very blessed to have a very dear friend on the program this morning, and he serves on the board of directors for the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame, as does my wife and myself and others, Charmy and Lonnie Laval. This is Bob Humphreys from Jerome. Bob, I'm really thankful you're on the show this morning. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Really good. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Even though we serve on the board of directors for the Hall of Fame, what about Bob Humphreys? What have you done? What are you doing? Tell us a little thumbnail sketch about yourself.
Well, I can tell you I've been a rodeo fan all my life, Zeb. I can remember when I was in grade school, my folks taking me to the Lewiston Roundup. I lived in Lewiston for a number of years, and then I went to college and kind of got away from the Western way of life, so to speak. But my wife and I have become more involved, and we have horses that we've purchased from the B-Bar-B up in Peekaboo, Katie Breckenridge, and we are into the horse world again. My wife barrel races competitively, and I'm her groom, I guess you could say. But we are deeply involved in it, and we've been to the NFR 13 years in a row, something like that. And so it's in our blood, and we certainly enjoy it.
Bob, you've been very instrumental in helping the board of directors this year for both nights of activity at the Canyon Crest Event Center. On Friday night, the 28th, we're going to have a Tough Enough to Wear Pink Night, Give Cancer the Boot, with a percentage of the proceeds going to breast cancer awareness and research with St. Luke's Foundation. Talk to us a little bit about that first night. It should be a lot of fun.
Well, it should be. We've got, I don't know how many people remember the colorful steers we had over in Gooding for a few years, but we've got a pink steer that is outfitted for the Tough Enough to Wear Pink Night that night at the Canyon Crest, and we will have a number of giveaways, drawings, live auction, things like that. We've also got, it's a $10 charge if you want to purchase a Coors
Coors is sponsoring it, or helping to sponsor it. So if you've got a $10 wish and want to purchase a mug, Coors will have a couple kegs of beer there, and you can drink beer until those 2 kegs are gone. And it's only $10.
You know,
all the rodeo inductees will be there for this year, and they will be a meet and greet. You can get autographs. You can do all kinds of things. So it should be an exciting event, and we are really looking forward to it.
And, you know, yesterday we had Terry Rao with the St. Luke's Foundation on, and the percentage of the proceeds, like I said, from this event are going to help them with better equipment to study and help stop breast cancer. And St. Luke's Foundation, absolutely a very worthy cause for everybody to be there on Friday night, the 28th, starting at 5 and going till about 8 p.m. And like you alluded to, we have got a whole bunch of great door prizes and plus some special fun events during the evening.
Sure, you bet. Yeah, we've got one plan that will interest everyone, I'm sure, and it has to do with the steers and the possibility of one of them becoming a bull again.
That was really well put and very carefully put, may I add. Now, Bob, let's talk a little bit about Saturday night, the next night for the Hall of Fame induction. Wow, this is what it's all about, and we've got a lot of great inductees this year, and one in particular that you're really happy that you'd like to introduce. Go ahead.
Well, it's when I joined the board, it's been about a year ago, I guess. One of the things that I noticed was there seemed to be a one person that was glaringly missing on our list, and I suggested that maybe I try to get a hold of him, and luckily I was able to get a hold of him, and Dean Oliver from Greenleaf, Idaho, is going to be there. Dean he was the man when I was growing up, and he's an 11-time world champion, and we are honored to have him, as well as the other inductees. But Dean was special to me, and I was lucky enough to get him on the phone and talk to him, and he's heavily involved this week with the Snake River Stampede, but he will be there Friday and Saturday for our event, and we're really looking forward to that.
Absolutely, and I should break it down a little bit and say on Saturday night we're going to have the Hall of Fame induction starting at 5 p.m. with a social hour, and you can kind of meet and greet some of the inductees, and then, of course, dinner at 6, and then we'll start our induction ceremony, and we're going to try to make it as first class as possible with a very nicely decorated stage and the awards and the music. I mean, Bob, we're trying to do everything first class for the Hall of Fame.
That's correct. And we have a lot of thanks to give to Canyon Crest. They have been more than helpful, and we're really looking forward to it, Zeb. We've got a greeting the public as they come in will be a life-size photo and mounted on board of Karen Lavins James, who was Miss Rodeo America in 1962, and she will be welcoming everyone to the event, and that should be interesting for everyone to see as well. She's just as pretty in that photo as she always was, so we'll see how many people recognize her.
You know, and you've done an outstanding job of getting everything all set for the decorations and the decor of what's going to take place that night. But I'd also like to give a shout out, if you would, about D.L. Evans Banks statewide. They've been our major sponsor this year, along with Tech Distributing, our Coors supplier here for the Magic Valley. I mean, it takes a lot of people behind the scenes to make sure that we have, like I said earlier, a first-class event.
Absolutely, and they're right on the front row, so it will be fun to have them there and their representatives as well. And like I say, we are really looking forward to a first-class event, and
with you as master of ceremonies, I'm sure it's going to be just that.
You know, Bob, I want to thank you again for all your involvement and your help. And if you would, kind of give us an overview one more time of Friday night with the Tough Enough to Wear Pink, Give Cancer the Boot, and then on Saturday night, the Hall of Fame induction. Go ahead. I'll let you have it.
Okay, Friday night is the Tough Enough to Wear Pink, Give Cancer the Boot night at Canyon Crest. It's a $10 admission. You get a Coors glass, and for that $10, and there will be beer available to drink all night long, as long as it lasts. And we'll have a lot of giveaways that night, auctions. We've got a Tough Enough to Wear Pink fly rod that has been donated, and then Saturday night is a $25 a plate induction ceremony, and that's going to be the highlight of the weekend with all of the inductees there and their families and anyone else. The tickets are available through Canyon Crest or through any board member, actually, and it's going to be a great evening. We're expecting anywhere between 300 and 400 folks to come to that event, and live music and just all kinds of interesting things with regard to we've got 15 inductees this year, Zeb, and one of which is actually a horse, which is kind of interesting, and they range from people that have contributed from a rodeo competitor standpoint all the way to people that have contributed by being Western artists, Western musicians. Those are all different categories within our cadre of things that allow people to be inducted into the hall.
I tell you,
an interesting evening, and we've got folks that are being inducted for all of those types of things. So we're looking forward to it.
That was very well stated. And again, I want to thank you for all of your help, all of your involvement. Bob Humphreys from Jerome, board member of the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. Bob, thank you much, and we'll see you Friday for a meeting, and God bless you for your time this morning.
You bet. Thank you, Zeb.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Nice man from Jerome, and so helpful on the board of directors this year for the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame, July 28th and 29th. That's a Friday and Saturday night at the Canyon Crest Event Center. Please call Katie for tickets at the Canyon Crest, 733-9392. Once again, Katie at Canyon Crest, 733-9392. I would like to take some calls, so give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I want to remind you about all the good fun times that are going on over at Redder Showcase. I got to stall for a minute because in my haste, I can't find it. Here we go. 2611 Overland in Burley. Yes, sirree, Bob. They're having their annual indoor tent sale. Indoors? Yes, sirree. Lots of smaller tents are set up inside the store. Well, you'll find the best of buys, 12 months, same as cash financing, and, of course, you can save a lot of money on refrigerators and Serta mattresses. Super buys at Redder Showcase for their annual indoor tent sale at 2611 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the line, and we'll talk about any subject matter that you want. Let me see if I forgot anything on my list here this morning. We talked about the tipping story. We talked about our kids, Snoop Dogg. I think we've covered everything, and I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Give us a jingle, 436-2244. One story that I was going to try to get into this morning is that, and this happened back in Indiana, and PETA has jumped in with both feet, and they are trying to denigrate any and all livestock usage or livestock transportation. There was an accident. A tractor trailer turned over on the exit ramp of Interstate 69 in Indiana. So some of the livestock that were being hauled in that tractor trailer had to be put down, and they were injured severely in the wreck. Well, PETA, not to let any kind of a disaster go unnoticed, they took out a billboard, and the sign on the billboard showed an image of a cow next to the words, "I'm me, not meat. See the individual, go vegan." And then, in the story that ran after that, PETA came out and said, we can all prevent further animal suffering and death by choosing only cruelty-free food. Then they go on and say, with the Executive Vice President Tracy Ryman of PETA, a person who I know and, quite frankly, don't have a lot of respect for, she said, quote, "This overturned truck killed nearly 20 gentle cows, and the ones who survived are most likely on their way back to the slaughterhouse." And she goes on and on about how everybody should be vegan, and then she said people might not see them as living, feeling, intelligent beings, but they have pain, suffering, and families. This is ludicrous. I have said on my program for many, many times that PETA, anti-biblical, God gave man dominion over all the animals on the earth, all plants and animals, and deemed that anything and everything that man used for food purposes, for clothing, etc., was for man's use. And for them to come out and say that these animals are not ours to own, they're not ours to raise, they're not ours to eat, is absolutely insane. And you're going to hear a lot more about PETA as they try to drum up more money for their not worthy causes. All of us respect animals. All of us, absolutely, that are in the livestock business want to make sure that we raise the healthiest animals and the best cared for animals anywhere, anytime. But what these people are aiming for is a anti-transportation bill to where you can't haul the animals, you can't move them from one location to another. Just think of the ramifications and the repercussions of that. Absolutely devastating to the agricultural business in the United States. PETA? No. Absolutely no common sense whatsoever. Okay, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, Deanne, have Jack come on in here. We got a couple of extra minutes, and we'll put him on the air quickly as kind of a preview as to what we're going to talk about this next hour. And we're going to have Jack Euler come in here, and it's almost a story that I'd like to give a little extra time to anyway, about the new, supposedly, wolf plan that both sides of the issue with the wolves are not in favor of. Jack, quickly grab that microphone and pull it up close to your mouth, and we'll put you on the air here this morning quickly. Jack Euler is here, and whenever Jack's on my show, it's kind of like having put on an old pair of boots, because he's such a dear friend, and I feel really comfortable with you. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good for an old man.
You know, I can relate to that. I can. Jack, we're going to be talking about something this morning that I don't think anybody in the world has more knowledge of than you, because since 1995, you've been involved in the feds trying to cram the wolves and their Restoration Act down our throat here in the state of Idaho. And you worked a long time and a hard time to try to get some kind of an agreement with the environmentalists and the state of Idaho and the reintroduction of these wolves. But now it seems the environmentalists want to change the rules again.
They do, and they always do. And I got so frustrated over the issues with the wolves and the environmentalists and the wolves and endangered species when I was on the governor's task force for sage grouse, that I learned that the environmental groups can come to an agreement with you, but that agreement is only good for as long as it takes to shut the door after the meeting.
Okay, next, this whole half hour coming up, we're going to talk about this, but give me a quick gist of how can they do this? How can they demand the rules can be changed after you've signed an agreement on certain amount of breeding pairs and management of the wolves? How do they go about changing this?
My feeling and my opinion, this is my opinion, is that the environmentalists have no credibility whatsoever. I do not. You know what we went through on the show years ago with that group that wanted to be on the radio, and we tried to get on the radio on the wolf issue.
That's right.
And to me, they have no credibility, and their word is only as good as it, and as long as it takes to shut the door. But we did something on the wolf issue, and we'll bring it up in the next half hour.
Okay, now
is pretty good.
We'll get into that, and then also I want to talk to you. I had another newspaper story quickly we'll comment on about wolf and livestock deaths hit record high in Wyoming. Mm-hmm. I know you've probably got that same article.
Right there.
And then also notice about up at Ketchum, Fish and Game proposes allowing hunters to bait wolves. I also want you to comment on that story. We've got a lot coming up this next half hour with, like I said, a very, very dear friend of ours that is the most knowledgeable about the wolves and the problems that we've incurred by having them restored in the state of Idaho. And we're going to have Jack on for the full half hour. And we encourage your phone calls at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We're going to take a little break right now and send it back over to our main studios, and then we'll be back with more and Jack Euler in the next half hour. Wheels, take it away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Best.
And welcome back to our show for the last half hour. And again, we alluded to the fact that Jack Euler is on our program this morning talking about the wolf situation. Jack, let's talk first of all, and hold that mic up a little higher. There you go, so I don't get that cord all mashed. Let's talk a little bit about the changing of the rules by the environmentalists and what was agreed on and where we are now, what they're trying to change, what they're trying to do. Bring us up to speed.
Well, to introduce the wolves back into Yellowstone and especially Idaho, Montana area, it took quite a few years of negotiating and coming to agreements. And finally, it was agreed before they were introduced, this is way before they were introduced, that they were going to be 10 if the wolves got to a point where there was 10 breeding pair or 100 wolves in each state, then they would be considered recovered.
And that was agreed to.
That was agreed to by everybody, by the environmentalists, by the government, by the ranchers, by everybody, everything. Everybody agreed. I mean, they didn't all agree, but that's what we got out of the whole deal, was 10 breeding pair or 100 wolves.
Of reintroduction.
And Right. Before reintroduction.
Right.
And then after reintroduction, they started getting high numbers and coming up. Well, each state had to come up with a management plan. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you. Right there, the breeding pairs and the numbers started to increase after the reintroduction, and they went way over and exceeded the agreed-upon numbers.
That's right. And then each state had to come up with a management plan that was agreed upon by the government and by everybody in Washington, D.C., and who was it? It's the environmentalists. And as you stated, that the numbers were way higher. Well, you look at those newspaper articles about this thing in Wyoming, how many wolves, and the state management plan said 15 breeding pair or 150 wolves in each state.
Right.
And that's what we agreed on. That's what they agreed on. Everybody agreed on it.
But let's talk about the excess. I mean, I've talked to people over in Wyoming, and I've talked to people in Montana prior to doing this show with you this morning, and also many, many people here in the state of Idaho. And we're not talking hundreds. We're talking thousands and thousands of wolves that have been reintroduced and have prospered with the reintroduction program, and the numbers far, far exceed anything that was agreed upon initially.
Well, it's like this one thing in the paper today said it's between 800 or 700 or whatever it is. That's the way they can count, or that's what's been counted. But they will not. This is another part of this thing that has come about now. We cannot, in the state of Idaho, do a good count on wolves anymore because the government has shut us off from the Frank Church Wilderness area from landing a helicopter because we cannot go in there and shoot a dart into a wolf out of a helicopter and land and put a collar on that so that we can track these and try and keep track of the numbers. We have no idea what is going on. They say that a helicopter or this dart is a mechanical device and it's against the law to land a mechanical device in a wilderness area.
So basically what you're saying, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but correct me if I'm wrong, there is no way today to get an accurate account of numbers or any feasible way to get numbers, and the numbers are just left to run rampant.
That's right. And this is what we run into. And this is what I said a few minutes ago about the environmentalists and the environmental groups. Their word is not good. It is good as long as it takes to get out of the room and shut the door, and they're on to throwing a shovel full of dirt over that agreement, and it's just like the sage grouse.
Who are these people, they? Let's be more definitive. Defenders of Wildlife, I know, comes to mind with a lady by the name of Suzanne Stone. They just always seem to be criers, and when they cry and get big bubble tears in their eyes, they seem to get their way. How can they, this is naive on my part, how can they break an agreement and change things without having all parties at the table to make an agreement?
I agree. I know what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying completely, but that's the way they are, and we don't get back to the table. It's just like the sage grouse agreement has been thrown in the garbage can, and it took us 2.5 years to do it and write it. 15 people met every week, every other week, or however often we met. And there was legislators, there was county commissioners, there was ranchers. I was the sportsman representative, and there was 3 environmental groups on that group of 15.
When you talk about numbers, I want to get back to these numbers so the people in the audience can kind of equate with that. The agreement, let's use the 150 wolves. Let's start with that. And right now, most all the people that I have talked to, including yourself, over the last couple of years, it has been estimated that there is anywhere from 1,500 to maybe 2,000 wolves in the Gem State alone, the state of Idaho. Now, Wyoming has a number that, quite frankly, is at least 10 times over the agreement. Same way with Montana. So here we are. We're talking about wolf numbers that are 10 times over the agreement. Why shouldn't there be better management procedures?
There should be. There should be any way to manage them, because back when this started and the government was in charge of introducing them and bringing them up to the 100 number, the government would land helicopters in the Frank Church and they would put collars on them. But we can't do that today. The rules have been changed, Zeb. They changed the rules on us.
Now, Jim Hagedorn, a person that you know, has estimated in the paper that the numbers here in the state of Idaho, perhaps, using that word, are 1,500 to 2,000 wolves. Now, anybody with even a first grade, Ned and the first grade reader of math can understand that's a lot more than 150. So, with the excess and the problems and no management, this thing's going to go helter-skelter in the future, isn't it?
Yes, and I've talked to Jim Hagedorn about this issue many, many, many times. Jim and I have been on the phone. We've been in meetings, and you want to get that?
Yeah, we'll take a call with a question, and then I've got to do a weather forecast. Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Hi, Jack.
Hi.
How are you today?
Pretty good.
Anyway, how many government employees are involved in the wolf program? And we're getting paid for selling us down the creek.
How many?
He said, how many government employees are working with and for the wolf restoration program?
You've been in Washington, D.C., haven't you?
Yes.
Have you driven up and down those streets and looked at all the office buildings that are up and down those streets that our tax dollars are paying for?
Absolutely.
There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And since you brought up Washington, D.C., or up how many employees, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. There was a guy by the name of Jim Beers who I'm good friends with. I met him at a meeting in Livingston, Montana on the wolf issue several years ago. And Jim Beers uncovered the money that our tax dollars were paying to the environmental groups on this wolf issue. And Jim Beers, for the last 10 months that he worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Washington, D.C., stayed home and twiddled his fingers and did nothing because they sent him home, but his paycheck came in the mail to him every time that a paycheck was due. He got his paycheck.
Just to stay out of it.
Just to stay out of it. And the GAO checked on his figures and confirmed that they were correct and true. And that's a true fact.
Well, caller, thank you very much for your call. And I think when you start to define who's involved from the government and who's drawing a paycheck because of the wolves, it could be an unendless supply of numbers, really, and humanity involved. But right. I still go back, and this is a question I've had for a long time, Jack, and you and I have talked about this many, many times. How can they change the rules that are agreed to. I mean, if you have a wolf plan for reintroduction and people agree to it, 150 wolves, 15 breeding pairs, and the numbers now have escalated to, like I said, maybe 1,500 to 2,000 wolves, you've got a management problem. So, if you have a management problem, then you're going to have to resort to something like was in that other story, allowing hunters to bait wolves to manage the problem, don't you?
Well, that's the way I look at it.
Am I being too simplistic?
Well, that's the way I look at it. But, I believe that we should take the numbers at this point down as close to the 150 as we can get them. And we agreed that that's what we would do as the state of Idaho. Our state management plan says 15 breeding pair or 150. And I think that that's what the Fish and Game should do and manage for.
Okay, I want to pursue that in just a minute, but right now I've got to get a weather forecast on here. And our weather is brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, with Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. Number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Their retail market right there at 331 North Road, delicious. Absolutely all the meats, like the breakfast sausages, the bratwurst, and all the bacon. It's just everything. Absolutely delicious. I urge you to go over there today. Scarrows Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here is your weather for this Wednesday as we saddle up and ride again, and it's going to be a sunny one. Expecting a high right near 93, slightly breezy winds out of the northwest, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Sunset tonight going to be at 9:07 if you happen to catch the sunset for tonight. Looks like clear skies and 57 in the overnight hours tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies in the morning going to give way to mostly sunny skies for tomorrow afternoon. High right around 90. Winds going to be picking up tomorrow as well. Out of the west, 10 to 15 miles an hour tomorrow night. Looking at clear skies, low of 53. Then for Friday as we kick off the weekend, sunny skies, high of 89. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. Brought to you this hour by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrows Meats. They are located at 331 North Road, Jerome. Call them, 324-7657, or go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Oh, boy, it's good. Changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Jack, I go back again, and I know I keep going in circles on this thing, but the agreement's for 150. Okay, let's go ahead and force the Fish and Game to make the numbers what they are at 150. But therein lies the problem. If you can't count them and you're not allowed to get in there and count the numbers, how are you going to have a figure that brings you back to normal reality?
Well, that's what the environmental groups want. That's what they want. That's why we cannot land in the Frank Church Wilderness area.
They had
anymore.
this all kind of figured out, didn't they?
Yes. And, you know, this thing in the paper today about the Fish and Game talking about baiting, and this guy from the Center for Biological Diversity, it says right in here in this article, and here is the problem, I feel.
Right.
It said, in the absence of federal oversight, now, he is saying that Idaho has no federal oversight anymore, and so they cannot be trusted with anything.
Yeah, he goes on to say in this statement, this guy's name, by the way, is it's actually a lady, Andrea Santisari, and she's a senior attorney for the Center for Biological Diversity, and she said, in the absence of federal oversight, Idaho is doing everything it can to decimate Idaho's wolf population. First of all, that's an outright blatant lie.
That's
Secondarily, there are no numbers to prove any decimation or any overpopulation right now, because even though we know the numbers are escalating, we can't prove anything because our hands are tied.
That's right. A dart a dart is considered a mechanical device by the people in Washington, D.C., and that's why we can't use a dart gun in the Frank Church Wilderness area to shoot these out of a helicopter.
Jack, let me ask you this. With all the work that you've done on this project for the last, since 1995, have you recently had a chance to visit with anybody in Wyoming and Montana to get their feelings over this stupidity?
Yes, and the problem that exists in Wyoming exists in Idaho. And this article about Wyoming and the cattle that are being killed, the same thing is happening in Idaho and the same thing is happening in Montana. And these numbers that are in this article are what is called confirmed wolf kills. Mm-hmm. Now, if a rancher finds a dead cow out in the forest that's been chewed on by an animal, they will go out and they will say, we cannot confirm whether that animal died from something other than a wolf kill.
Or old age.
It has to be a confirmed wolf kill.
And how do you confirm that? There's a question for you.
See, this is the way the ranchers used to get paid some money. They don't get paid money anymore for these confirmed wolf kills.
Well, Jim Magana of the Executive Vice President of the Wyoming Stock Growers Association, and here really is an important quote that he said, the problem is too many wolves are allowed to populate areas where cattle and sheep graze.
Yes.
That's the whole problem. But how are you going to manage the numbers when you can't count the doggone things?
This goes back to federal lands, Zeb, and what we have in the West. Absolutely. And we got a problem, and it is not just the federal lands belong to everybody. The federal lands, look on the other side of the Mississippi River.
Yeah. Yeah. But, here's the situation as it stands right now. The numbers are exploding. The dangers are exploding, and the deaths to livestock are exploding. But you and others, the ranchers, everybody else, their hands are tied because nobody has a set number. And without that set number, these environmentalists can just have a freeway and a free wheel. They can do whatever they want.
That's true. And let me give you another example. Let's talk about grizzly bears and black bears and things like that. I got a cabin in Island Park.
Yeah, I know you do.
I used to let my kids run in the backyard or the forest. That's right. What it is, right. Is out behind the cabin. And today, because of the grizzly bears and the wolves, because I'm only 15 miles from Yellowstone Park, I have to have their grandkids now, or great-grandkids, I have to have somebody with a gun to let the kids play out in the forest.
Right, and you're basically
in
your
the backyard. Yes. In my private property.
Well, you have said for a long time on this program, and I'm going to hold you to it because I agree with it, that it's not so much that they really want to protect the wolves. They want more control over the land and getting rid of you and I, right?
That goes right back to this newspaper article. In the absence of federal oversight.
Yeah.
What is federal oversight? It's control.
Complete control.
And that's where we are. And that's what the problem is. Are we in a position to make some changes? I hope so. I really hope
When you say that quickly, I've only got 2 minutes left here, but how are you going to institute and implement the changes with and against the environmentalists?
Well, when we got the wolves got delisted once in Idaho, and then they got put back on the endangered species list. And then we got them delisted again. And when we got them delisted again, we had, I think there was 5 lines in a budget bill that was signed in the couple of days before Christmas, before the people in D.C. left for Christmas vacation. And this whole thing goes back to part of why we can still control a little bit in this state is in those 5 lines we got in there that it cannot be challenged in court.
Okay. I've got to interrupt you right there, Jack, and I want you to sum up on a 1 to 10 scale. 1 to 10 scale, 1 being not good at all, 10 being hopefully optimistic. Where are you on this wolf issue going into the next 5 years?
Where am I at? We have got to get the Idaho Fish and Game to control down to as near as they can to 10 or 15 breeding pair or 150 wolves in the state of Idaho.
Absolutely. Jack, I wish I had more time. It's always a pleasure to have you on my program. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not just a guest. He's one of my dearest friends. God bless Jack Euler for all that you do. Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and they want you to get where you're going this summer safely. Absolutely, with the best of tires for your pickups, cars, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers. They have all the tires, like the Backcountry all-terrain tire for your pickups and SUVs, all-season tread, advanced noise reduction, and of course they have all these tires plus the best in brake service, plus the very best in front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and battery. But they take care of you. They give you great service to get you back out on the road safely. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to wrap it up for today and say thank you to all of our guests, especially my dear friend Jack Euler for coming out here to the studio. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless. See you tomorrow morning.